Well, that's Spring Duel fans,
Taff 108 here.
and victory. Though in the reverse order of what you just
I
heard.
hate this opening.
You love it. So, today we're going to be ranking the 9 Titans from the SNK series. And,
There's a version of this video that does not exist anymore, thankfully.
yeah, it was unnecessary. And I'm glad it'll never see the light of day. This one's going to be infinitely better in every way.
Correct.
It's also going to be a lot more relaxed, so I'm not going to be citing any numbers or any calculations for feats. It's just going to be, generally speaking, where they stack against each other in universe. So, like in universe, which Titan would be better than another one. This is also not taking into account users, so it won't be taking into account things like hardening fluid, etc. that we see
Or
in the
all
series.
Of Aaron's buffs.
Yeah,
Very specifically Aaron's.
Things that you wouldn't see ordinarily. So this would just be if some random Joe Schmo got the hypothetical full abilities of X Titan against the hypothetical full abilities of other X Titan without any other additional experimentation. So without any further ado, we're going to be ranking them from weakest to strongest, and we're going to just give a general overlay of their abilities, and then when we get to the next one, we'll explain why they would most likely win.
So, this will be from 9 to 1, 9 being the weakest, quote unquote, 1 being the strongest. With number at the spot of number 9, it is the Cart Titan. Mainly because it has no real ability other than longevity of its transformation, which most of these fights aren't going to last months on end. Meaning, being able to do that isn't much. One thing we have seen is it being, due to its longevity more than likely, being able to transform multiple times in succession, which could help against certain Titans. But it's all dependent. It's not really the most beneficial ability in the world.
And it's only been seen being useful against mindless Titans. Well, mindless may be a stretch here, but they're not fully coordinated as a human commanded Titan would be. So if anyone were to see, a quick mid-transformation, any Titan above this list would have the necessary speed to either catch the mid-transformation or catch them while they're transforming again. And so basically an attempt to, continuously switch wouldn't really work against someone who knows about the innate weakness like a legitimate Titan would.
Think when Aaron punched the Warhammer Titan in the face partial transformation.
Essentially, yes, but, probably more effective. So from there, we're going to move to number 8. And actually, number 8 and number 7 are actually interchangeable. It kind of depends on how you want to look at them, since they essentially have the same broad abilities, which is actually kind of the most basic of the set. And while they do have extraordinary powers in their own right, in terms of a 1v1 fight, they're not very important.
Number 8 and number 7 are the Female Titan and the Attack Titan, respectively. With the Female Titan's main ability being able to call other Titans into combat, and the Attack Titan's main ability being able to send messages to the previous incarnations. The only one that would be really applicable to this active combat would be the Female Titans, but these are just random 1v1s. More than likely, the other Titans wouldn't get there in time.
Well, it should also be noted that it's a double-edged sword as well. She's able to call forth additional Titans. The Titans also come forth to consume her Titan form. So it would actually be kind of counterproductive. Like, sure, the situation where she had like ODM gear or something like Annie did, she could escape. But again, we were discussing a random hypothetical female Titan inheritor, so that would not be an option. So actually, calling forth for Titans could be
counterproductive.
Yeah, it could be counterproductive. And on top of that, the other ability that the female Titan has, which is to consume parts of the other Titans and to mimic their abilities, would again not be very applicable, because again, she would need to consume it and then have time to manifest those abilities, and it's not really going to be able to do that against unwilling participants, so that ability is basically null. So essentially in the spots of 7 and 8, you have 2 base 15-meter Titans that essentially have almost no real abilities other than just being able to punch and be more coordinated than
Also,
randoms.
let's say the Female Titan nibbles on the Colossal Titan's toe. What's it gonna do? Is it gonna get like a few meters larger?
Maybe. The Female Titan did get the short end of the stick of the story, but that's a whole other topic. It was badass when it was introduced.
That is true.
Alright, so from there we can move on to number 6, which would be the Jaw Titan.
Which, the Jaw Titan's ability is it has a really strong jaw. I don't know what else you were expecting, but that's basically it. Strong enough, though, that it can break the Warhammer's crystal. Or contracts, essentially.
Well, yeah, the most notable parts about the Jaw Titan are the fact that it's incredibly agile, and it has incredibly strong jaws that can bite through Titan hardening. Again, as an example, use the Warhammer Titan's crystal. But the downside to that, its high mobility, is that it's also very fragile. So any other Titan above this list, while it would be at the mercy of its jaw, haha, would also inevitably be able to deal more damage comparatively, because while it is significantly faster, it is not so fast to the point that none of them would be able to tag them. Especially considering we've seen the Attack Titan tag it, and the Attack Titan, as we mentioned before, is on the lower totem pole in terms of abilities. But unlike the Attack Titan, Titans above it would have the power to deal damage.
It's also worth mentioning that its best setting would be when Ymir used it in the forest, when there's tons of cover, and its agility is at its best. If it's not in such a situation where there's a lot of cover and places to move, it's like putting Spider-Man out in the middle of a rural field.
And we didn't really discuss setting before we talk about this, but it doesn't really matter. Like I said, we're talking about just random scenarios. So again, like I said, that's why this list isn't super serious, because if you were to change some factors, other Titans would do better. Like I said, if you put the Jaw Titan inside of a forest, it would have significantly improved odds against the Arbor and the Beast, etc.
Not against the Colossal.
Well, yeah, but that's why it has the spot it has on the list. But as it stands now, this is the best place for it. And by that same token, we move on to the next Titan, which is the Armor Titan.
The Armor Titan is a Titan covered in steel, essentially. That's one of its main features. Essentially, its only one, really.
Well, it's able to control its hardening, which is an ability that all Titans can hypothetically manifest. But again, we're not including serums and whatnot. So the only ones that have it naturally would be the Jaw, the Armor, and the Warhammer Titan. And the Armor Titan, again, it excels at this. It's actually so extensive that its armor can survive a explosion from the Colossal Titan. So it's not something to mess around with. It's definitely durable enough that it can survive strikes from the Jaw Titan. And it has comparable speed to the Attack Titan, as we saw during the various fights with Reiner and Aaron. So a hypothetical best case scenario, Armored user will be able to tag the Jaw Titan, and due to its higher durability, would likely last a bit longer. But again, that kind of goes to the subjectivity of this list, because again, in a good scenario, the Jaw could beat the Armor Titan. But we're kind of thinking it's more likely for the Armor to win, which is why he gets the top
Also,
spot.
I imagine in a 1v1 fight, Annie could probably topple Reiner if they include martial arts.
Oh yeah, but that's
Just
again,
pure skill.
Oh yeah, but that's going back to users.
Yeah,
which we're not taking into account.
that's again settings and users and skills. This is just a random person on the street gets plucked up. No special stats or anything.
Random subjects that you hear get the 9 Titans and have to box for no reason.
Her daughter's got the 9 Titans. They're boxing right now.
And now above the Armor Titan is another one where it's like you can kind of argue it now be the Beast Titan.
I was about to make a monkey joke, but that's not necessarily true. The Beast Titan is just a Titan that manifests with animal parts to it, or animal qualities. With Zeke's case, it was a monkey. A big monkey.
And the user before him was a goat. And the reason the Beast Titan is here is because it was able to beat the Armor Titan. Now we don't see how the fight goes, so it's possible that this was due to skill or something. But I also think it's likely that given that the Beast Titan excels at throwing things, like that wasn't just Zeke's specialty.
He just yeeted Reiner.
Well, there's that, but like I said, I doubt that he beat him by throwing rocks at him. But then again, it's possible that he could have, because things increase their damage output with the inertia and the speed put behind them. So it is possible he's able to throw something hard enough to deal damage to the Armor Titan the same way that a hurricane can make straw move fast enough to pierce a barn. But that notwithstanding, the fact that he was able to beat him as easily as it seemed like he did is enough grounds to put this here. And I wouldn't argue, like I said, you could say like, oh, it was skill or something, kind of the same way like the attacker female Titan could, break the joints of the Armor Titan, given the opportunity and skill set. But we're talking about most likely scenario, so it just seems like the Beast Titan has more in its arsenal. And of course, this is considering his abilities that he would have if he was just the Beast Titan. So again, presuming that he won based off like lanky arm strength or whatever, then that would be the reason the Beast Titan is aside. Otherwise, you'd probably move lower, potentially below the Jaw. But again, the fact that it was able to embarrass the Armor Titan the way it did, I can't really see that being pure skill.
I will double specify the exact same abilities as Zeke, so it manifests as a monkey, no other animal. That is not something being taken into consideration, because that's a lot of hypotheticals we could go with them.
So Beast Titan that we see from Zeke is kind of the only one we see in the series. We see the goat, we never really get to see what they do. And even in the final fight, again, I should have mentioned in the beginning, manga spoilers for this video. But
Aaron's dead! Okay, continue.
But that notwithstanding, we're not taking into account the fact that we didn't really get to see the Beast Titans do anything during the final fight, even when they manifested. So we don't really know if the throwing skill set is truly theirs. But it's safe to assume that it probably is. At least, I would say so.
Yeah. And then, next on the list would be the Warhammer Titan, which it has the ability to harden and essentially use whatever the hardening material is made out of to make objects, like spears, hammers, swords. Theoretically, if the person was intelligent enough, you could make a gun.
Well, they already make bows. No reason to go to the length of a gun. But that being said, the Warhammer Titan takes the spot for very obvious reasons. For one, unlike the other Titans, it does not reside in the nape. It resides within a specialized crystal that buries itself underground. So this is only something that you would have to notice, and then only something like the Jaw Titan would even be capable of piercing it to begin with. So the option of going for the nape is out. It's able to manifest weapons. It can cause ground attacks, so any Titan within even like 20 or 30 meters of its range can get pierced from the ground. Its weapons are able to cleave straight through hardening, which is relevant because these are base Titans, so most of them don't have hardening. So they'll be able to cleanly cleave through heads, and that's just the hammer construct. As Victory mentioned, they also have spears and arrows, and can essentially craft anything out of the hardening. And we haven't really seen any clearly defined limits, but like we said, the fight would be so fast that it wouldn't really matter.
I don't know. What if this fight goes on for like 6 months and a card Titan comes out on top?
I mean, if it were a peak, I'd want that outcome. It's just some random, so who cares? Best girl, by the way.
Best girl.
And now from there, we can move on to the number 2 slot, which is taken by the Colossal Titan, for obvious reasons.
It's really big. That's the main reason why. None of the other Titans have any real way to damage it. And let's say they do get up to the nape, other than the fact that due to its size, the person's buried pretty deep into the nape. It can also expel steam from its body and just melt them. Most of them.
And it should be noted that it also has the ability to cause gigantic explosions when it wants to. So if the Colossal Titan were to explode, that would definitely take out most Titans on this list. In fact, the only one I can imagine surviving are the Armored Titan, and potentially the Warhammer Titan, since its hardening should be comparable, if not superior, to the Armored Titans. But again, that's just surviving the raw explosion.
Now you have the Colossal Titan to deal with.
Yeah, you still have to actually fight it, and it's likely that its blows are able to crack hardening, simply due to its sheer size. And I don't recall if it stated if it's any slower due to its size either, so it should be able to just literally steamroll and stomp every other Titan on this list, except for our number 1 spot.
The number 1 spot, it's a very easy spot to give. We gave it to the Founder. Not for any specific... The main reason being is that if the Founder wanted to, the user of it could just yeet your Titan into the past. And now you can't transform. What do you want to do? Yeah. Or, as was brought up before, the Titan could also morph its own abilities to be yours, but better. So in the case of a match with the Colossal Titan, as said before, off camera, you could be getting a bigger Colossal Titan with the abilities of the other 9, and now you can't transform anymore.
Yeah, so it should be noted that it's obvious why the Founder gets the spot that does. It's only able to be used by Royal Blood, so I guess it's technically, in this instance, we have to give it to a specific person, but that's just so we can rank the Titan where it belongs on the list.
Illegitimate child. There you go.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be on the list. It'd be toward the bottom. So there you go. If you want to know how the non-Royal Blood Founder would rank, that's where. But in the hands of someone with Royal Blood, they have essentially the power to completely control and manipulate the paths and completely control and manipulate all subjects of Ymir. So they could literally do anything to the other Titans on this list. They could cause them to become sterile, control any other Titan. It might even be able to control the shifters, we don't really know.
By that logic, couldn't they switch the genders of the Titans with the shifters?
It probably could. I don't see why they couldn't. No reason why not. Not only do you lose, now you got no when. Congrats.
The true loss is there.
it's just obvious. The Founder is the reigning Supreme Titan, and it's obvious why in the story it has so much importance. There's nothing any of the other Titans could ever hope to do unless they fought an inexperienced user that didn't know how to use it, like Frida. That's the only reason Grisha won, because she was new to the Titan. She was still experiencing the King's madness. She had no idea what she was doing. If she did, she would have easily stripped him of his abilities, eaten him, and then the attack Titan would have been lost.
Thankfully, that didn't happen. So we get to see Eren wipe out 80% of the population, and in Paradise get nuked.
It cannot be done. That being said, I'd like to thank everyone for staying with us today. Again, this is a little light of the feet, kind of more casual discussion, just spitballing about, who would probably take you. And again, there are a lot of scenarios where you could argue, but this is just us taking into account most likely scenario, and again with randoms. If we were ranking this list based off of users, it would be completely different.
Eren be very close to the top, if not the top.
Well, especially if we were taking into account Eren, then he probably would just be a top, because then he has multiple Titan abilities, so obviously
he also has direct access to the past and Ymir.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He has colossal abilities. Pun was actually not intended there. But that notwithstanding, if we were ranking him from like seasons 1 or 2, even there, where he only has the attack Titan, or at least to his knowledge only has the attack Titan, he'd still be able to rank far above where a base attack Titan would be due to his own skill and kind of his determination in a weird way. But that's a topic for another time. For now, we'd like to wish you all a great day.
Like, comment, favorite, subscribe, share. I didn't miss anything.
No, you did. And look forward to the second half of Season 4, even though if you watch this, it's all been spoiled for you.
We can spoil it more. We can go into greater detail if you'd like.